Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. We're going to dive into a comprehensive overview of U.S. foreign drug policy, exploring its history, the challenges it has faced, and the wide-reaching impact it has had globally. We'll examine how drug control efforts have evolved over more than a century, the strategic shifts that have shaped policy, and the significant effects these policies have had on the international stage. I'm excited to take you through this detailed journey from 1900 all the way to the present day. Let's get started. U.S. foreign drug policy plays a crucial role in shaping how the country interacts with the rest of the world, especially when it comes to controlling illegal drugs. It's not just about what happens within our borders. This policy involves a broad set of strategies designed to manage drug production, trafficking, and consumption on an international level. Over the past century, this policy has evolved significantly. It started with simpler national regulations and has grown into a complex framework that addresses a wide range of issues, including global health and security. Understanding this historical evolution helps us see why the U.S. partners with other countries to tackle the challenges of illicit drugs worldwide. The foundation of drug control in the United States was laid with the 1914 Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, which introduced legal restrictions specifically targeting opiates and coca derivatives. This marked the beginning of formal regulation in this area. During this era, the U.S. also played an active role in international efforts to manage drug use and trafficking, recognizing that this issue extended beyond national borders. A major milestone was the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, an international treaty aimed at unifying global drug control standards. Throughout this period, the focus was largely on controlling the supply chain of narcotics, with cooperation between countries to regulate and enforce measures designed to curb trafficking and reduce the illegal distribution of these substances. In 1971, President Nixon officially declared the war on drugs, which marked a significant shift in U.S. policy towards a much more aggressive approach in drug enforcement and interdiction. This set the tone for the following decades. In the mid to late 1980s, specifically 1986 and 1988, major legislative acts were passed that increased penalties for drug-related offenses and boosted funding for drug control efforts both within the United States and internationally. One key example of these international efforts was the Plan Colombia initiative, which demonstrated the U.S. commitment to disrupting drug production in other countries, particularly in Latin America. Throughout this period, we also saw a growing militarization of drug enforcement efforts, with agencies like the DEA playing increasingly prominent roles in operations beyond U.S. borders, emphasizing a more forceful and strategic approach to combating drug trafficking. During the 2000s, we saw a significant shift in U.S. foreign drug policy. Instead of focusing solely on supply reduction, there was a growing emphasis on demand reduction and harm reduction strategies. This change recognized the importance of addressing the root causes and health impacts of drug use, not just prosecuting trafficking. At the same time, international cooperation became more robust. The U.S. partnered more closely with global organizations, notably the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, to create a coordinated response that crossed borders and combined resources. The DEA also adapted its approach during this period. It began integrating traditional law enforcement efforts with broader public health goals. This more holistic strategy aimed to tackle the complex issues surrounding drugs by supporting drug-producing countries in balancing enforcement with health and social concerns, ultimately striving for a more sustainable and effective solution. In recent years, we've seen the opioid crisis heavily shape drug policy both here and abroad, leading to changes in how enforcement is prioritized and where foreign aid is directed. At the same time, many countries are moving towards legalization and decriminalization, which poses new challenges to the traditional U.S. drug policies. We're also seeing a shift towards incorporating global health and human rights perspectives, highlighting a more comprehensive approach to drug control. Lastly, the conversation now balances legal enforcement with a deeper understanding of social and medical impacts, recognizing the complexity of the issue beyond just criminality. When we look at Latin America, U.S. foreign drug policy has had a profound impact, especially in areas involved in drug production and trafficking. These policies have shifted coca cultivation patterns and, unfortunately, have also contributed to ongoing cycles of violence in the region. In Asia, the situation centers around its role as a major producer of opium. This continues to be a critical concern, with significant challenges related to both production and trafficking. Africa is increasingly becoming a transit zone in the global drug trade. This emerging role brings new drug-related challenges that are influenced by enforcement policies from outside the continent. Across all these regions, the effects of international drug control efforts are far-reaching, touching on social, economic, and political issues. As we've seen, U.S. foreign drug policy has undergone a significant evolution over time. What started as a primarily strict, enforcement-focused approach has gradually shifted towards strategies that aim to balance regulation with public health considerations and international cooperation. However, the challenges we face today are far from simple. They require careful, nuanced solutions that combine enforcement with harm reduction and uphold human rights. Looking ahead, future strategies will likely emphasize stronger global partnerships and the flexibility to adapt to the constantly changing drug landscape. Ultimately, a sustainable and responsible approach, one rooted in shared global commitment, will be essential to effectively address drug-related issues around the world.